Amen. Every once in a while they let the old retired preacher up here. In fact, I believe I get to do Micaiah next, which is one of my favorite stories. So they split things up. I'm going to lay this out here. And since I am so forgetful, I just set it up here for the time being, a scroll, that it's just going to sit there through the sermon. And you're going to wonder, what in the world was that? And at the end, if I don't get to it, then somebody will remind me, because I'll forget. And the thing is that Diana knows that I've been trying to put this together, and the sermon hasn't come out the same every time I've tried it. So, you're going to get something holy by the Holy Spirit, but guided. Now, again, I'm the old preacher. You know, this technology stuff is new on me. I was just getting used to this thing. Let's see, do I do it? Oh, I probably got to turn it on first, don't you? Yeah. All right. Oh, there it is. It got it. 3 questions. We got that. Okay, cool. Now, so I'm working on a technology thing, and it's kind of fun. So that's it. I would usually have to have a bunch of notes here because I forget things. You notice, you can probably read my Bible from back there. This is the one I need. It's so big. And we're going to get into all that in a little bit here. But for the beginning, I'd like you to open your Bibles to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes. So, Pastor Michael was doing Solomon, and this is more of Solomon, one of the books he's written. And Pastor Michael will talk next week about how Solomon ends things and where he goes down. But Ecclesiastes is one of those books that speaks to the modern world. And I like to read it from, go to chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 12. And then we're going to go to chapter 12, then you can pretend you read the whole thing. Because I will assign it for homework, all right? But we'll start with chapter 1, verse 12. If you got your Bibles, you can split it right in the center. There's the Psalms, and you go over to Proverbs and Ecclesiastes right after that. You get to Song of Solomon, you went too far. Get to Revelations, you know you've gone too far. But it's about in the middle of the book. All right. Chapter 1. Verse 12. I, the teacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Now if you'll turn with me to chapter 12. And I'm going to ask you to stand as we read chapter 12. I should have done that at the beginning because we expect you to have a Bible and look at it in this church. I know we decided that we were going to try to take the Bibles out and put in adult coloring books for the service, but Pastor decided not to do that. So if you need a Bible, it's there. And you go to chapter 12. It says, remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come. And the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars grow dark, and the clouds return after the rain. When the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men stoop. When the grinders cease because they are few, and those looking through the windows go dim, and the doors to the street are closed, and the sound of grinding fades. When people rise up at the sound of birds, but all their songs grow faint. When people are afraid of heights and of dangers in the streets. When the almond tree blossoms and the grasshopper drags itself along and desire no longer is stirred. Then people go to their eternal home, and mourners go about the streets. Remember him before the silver cord is severed, and the golden bowl is shattered or broken, before the pitcher is shattered at the spring, and the wheel broken at the well. And the dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Everything meaningless. The conclusion of the matter, my Bible starts out with. Not only was the teacher wise, but he also imparted knowledge to people. He pondered and searched out and set in order many proverbs. The teacher searched to find just the right words, and what he wrote was upright and true. The words of the wise are like goads, their collected sayings like firmly embedded nails. Given by one shepherd, be warned, my son, if anything in addition to them, of making of many books there is no end, and much study wearies the body. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether good or evil. Flower fades, grass withers. The Lord of the Word is forever. Please be seated. Amen. Solomon tried to look at life from the point of a secular man. And when you think of the gospel, it is perfect timing for it in our culture today. Ernest Hemingway said, life is a dirty trick. It goes from nothingness to nothingness. What a sad thing to think about. I want to give you the big idea of the whole book. Pastor was talking about narrative today and reading. Well, Solomon's more of a poetry, wisdom literature. And here's the big idea. People who fail to take God seriously are doomed to live lives of foolishness and futility. That's the whole thing of the book. Solomon's going to take you down, if you read the whole thing, a bunch of dead-end roads, a bunch of cul-de-sacs, and say, this is worthless. If you're going to live your life, it's worthless. Life is worthless. You're going to think like Ernest Hemingway. He says all is vanity 33 times. But then he narrows it. Vanity is those living under the sun. Those with a secular point of view. Solomon also says God has put in the hearts of man eternity. And if you feel like this life has not satisfied, maybe you weren't built for this life. Maybe you were built for another one. There was a very famous Christian book by a quote-unquote Christian writer called Your Best Life Now. When I saw that title, I thought, this guy must not believe in heaven if he thinks it's the best life now. Something's wrong with that. So, if you want to put it down to what natural man thinks, you got Woody Allen. Plato said, an examined life is not worth living. What if an examined life also stinks? See, we can't find pleasure on the things of the earth because there's a dusting of death from the Garden of Eden that permeates it all. This is another one from Stephen Hawking. What is it that breathes fire into the equation that makes a universe for these models to describe? Here's a mathematician, he thinks of everything in mathematical models. Models do that. The usual approach of constituting a mathematical model cannot answer the equation of why there should be a universe for the model to describe. Why does the universe go to all the bother of simply existing? If you look at it from the worldly point of view, there's no reason out there. You're a conglomeration of little particles and chemicals that came together and happenstance and an accident. Dealing with Ecclesiastes provides us an opportunity to bridge some of the clear gaps that are between the world out there and our Bible and our contemporary world. Because when I grew up, I got my preaching skills in the 60s, in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Back when we didn't have this stuff. We took both Bible up here, we got up top and let loose. These guys, they want to be more friendly with you. They will get down on your level to speak with it down here. Both of them go down there and just talk. And they want to know that they're not higher or better than you. Me, I'm not better than technology. But, I got told you're up here, you're supposed to go on the sermon, you're supposed to speak for God, you're supposed to carry mints. My first Baptist church I was in, all the elders got behind there and they opened the door, and I thought we went in there to pray before the service. No, we all looked down to see if our zippers were up. That was the beginning of my first year in seminary. But the Bible is the Bible, and a preacher is supposed to put out the Word of God, and he's supposed to carry the Spirit of God and let it go. Michael told me not to thump up here when I got up here. He knows he's afraid of it. But vanity was used 33 times. We talked about earlier, it says from dust in there. It's a curse back from the Garden of Eden, telling them from dust you came, to dust you'll return. In the preaching of caskets going in, we are but dust. And all the kids are going to ask Michael and Pastor, what is but dust? But that's what it is. Yeah. See, so we put up here, I've got the verse 12 again. It says, the teacher was king over all of Jerusalem. If you read the commentaries on that, they'll make a big thing out of the Hebrew Kolos, and there's some great Hebrew things in here, but was he teacher? Was it really Solomon? Well, who else studied wisdom, was king over Jerusalem, and did all these strange things? It had to be Solomon. So I'm just going to take it and give it to you that it was Solomon, as one of those preachers that are up high. That Solomon wrote the book. And I don't care what guy out of Germany says it may not have been him. 2,000 years of other Bible scholars says it was. The teacher was king over Israel and Jerusalem. Applied my mind to the study and to explore wisdom that is all done under the heavens. With a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. One of Pearl S. Buck's favorite books was The Good Earth. And it's set in China, which, Diane and I have an affinity to China. It was set in China, where this guy gets a piece of land, and he grows his land, and he puts his whole life, he withstands poverty and storms and revolution and bandits and everything to keep and care for his land, and he grows wealthy. When he gets old, guess what? His worthless sons sell the land. The whole story is about him keeping the land. Everything under the sun is nothing. We came in with nothing, we leave with nothing. Diana won't let me put a U-Haul on our hearse when I leave. I got nothing to take with me. So, with that bit of introduction, you see how the book of Ecclesiastes is laid out just to punch today's society right in the nose. People who don't think about God or think about church. They think about death and dying. They think about what their lives are like, what it is out there, what it is to lose a job, what it is to get sick, what it is to lose a family member, what it is to go to war, what it is to lose a leg. Life can be very, very harsh, and life also can be very, very sweet. You may not be able to choose the situation in life, but you can certainly choose your attitude, and that makes all the difference in the world on whether you're going to be happy in this life or not happy in this life. So, I put 3 questions. Gauguin, painter, 1891. See, the Victorian era was high on death and low on sex. This era, we're high on sex and pretty low on death. I mean, you die, they're going to make you up, and somebody says, "Well, you never look better." When they got people that make a job to put on to cover up your problems. So Gauguin, he did this, the biggest painting he's ever done, and it sits in Boston in the museum there, and it was of 3 women. And of the 3 women, there is 1 child that they're looking at, then there's 2 women who are younger and middle-aged, then there's finally an older woman, and in the back there's kind of a blue specter. And Gauguin says, well, that's the future after death or something. He wasn't sure what it was. But his painting is called 3 Questions. There they are. Dove venus? Que somos nous? Où allons-nous? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Those are the questions mankind asks, and we have the answers. They're lost out there for the answers. Stephen Hawking didn't know the answers. Woody Allen wonders what the answers are. People like Nietzsche, who said God is dead, winds up in an insane asylum because he can't find the answers. To them, there's no purpose. Modern culture reduces humanity to a combination of chemical accidents. No intentional origin, no noble destiny, and therefore no path to take through history and through time. You are vanity. Solomon takes this on. And I could quit there. We got through chapter 1 and say, have a nice day. It doesn't work that way. Let's go to chapter 12. Solomon gives us 3 things, and I will tell you them and see if we can keep me on track to get to them. One, he's going to be a plea. Are you doing this instead of me?
I don't know if that's on or not. It doesn't seem to be working at all.
You're jumping ahead of me, so I'm just curious.
I'm trying to keep up with you, but I don't know if it's turned on or what. It's not doing anything.
It's not doing anything? I thought it was.
Nope.
It's been Josh.
All right.
If you want to give me a cue or something,
I can do that. I can go.
There you go.
All right. Let's wait a moment now. Okay, we got this. There you go. He gives us a plea, a picture, and finally a punchline. And that's what we read in chapter 12, the way I set it up. Have I got this on? Weird. Okay. The plea. He says, remember your Creator in the days of your youth. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth. Last, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, young pastor got to talk about all the old gray people in the church. So I get up here and talk about all the young people in the church now. We get to let loose here. Remember your Creator. Now that's where the problem is. They don't think they have a Creator. They're taught in school, all from the beginning, if they go to a public school, that they're a chemical accident. That's all they are. They have no purpose. And if they go through life like that, they're going to get up like Mick Jagger and say, I can't get no satisfaction. He's over 80 now. I think he's still singing that. And the Rolling Stone. Diane and I, we were sitting up our family photos, getting our house ready. Those who know that we've worked on our place. And we were looking at family photos. And here's one 53 years ago. I'm in my naval uniform getting ready to go to Vietnam. Diana's seeing me off at the airport. I look at that and I thought, wow, 53 years ago, I was good looking, skinny. I ran marathons for fun. When we got married, she would remember I would jump out of aircraft to fight forest fires. She thought her husband had the body of a god. She didn't know it was going to turn out to be Buddha. But when we were young, that's where you look at it. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth. Old age is coming. You young people, old age is coming. We were talking about that this morning before Sunday school. We get up there and we compare what's creaking now. You got us all gray hairs in there. We're going to try to outdo each other on what the doctor visits were. So, we got the picture. Now, the picture is the next thing, and that's going to be verses 3 through 8 there. And if you will give me my moment there, this is for you young people. I wonder if you've ever pondered the fact that on average your life will last just 36,792,000 minutes. 36,792,000 minutes. You will sleep for approximately 12,300,000 minutes, 12 million. You will eat for another 3 million minutes. The vast quantity of food simultaneously will work for approximately 13 million minutes. That leaves us with about 8,000 minutes. Once you deduct time for taking showers, which women probably do more than men, just my observation, especially in young people. I've seen teenagers. I know what it's like. You boys, and you want to date girls, you better never mind. Get the shower. But anyway, you're down to about 6,500,000 minutes. If you're 18 years old, you've already used up a quarter of that allocation. So you get 5 million minutes left that are unaccounted for. What are you going to do with them? How are you going to live? Solomon went down, if you do your homework and read the rest of the book, went down a bunch of dead-end streets and cul-de-sacs. He says, I tried it all. I tried knowledge, school, wisdom. I tried building things. I tried materialism. I tried hedonism. I didn't deny myself anything to drink, to do, to body. I don't know how many concubines. I can't even remember. And wives he had. He tried it all. And he says, it's all nothing. You had it all and it goes to nothing. Oh, he's already done that. All right, let's look at the picture here. When the keepers of the house tremble and strong men stoop, he's going to give you a poetic picture of the old. Now, some of us with this gray hair, we can get the poetry. I'm not sure you younger ones can, but you can see this. Now, these are metaphors. I don't want to say allegory. Pastor's against allegory. Metaphors about certain situations that he sees. And you're going to get the mixed metaphors, which is something English teachers don't like. But these are metaphors. The keeper of the house trembled. Well, the reason we left China is this keeper of the house, there's these things here, and mine tremble a lot. And I take little yellow pills many times a day just to keep the trembling down. And it's going to get worse over time. I'm guaranteed a wheelchair sometime in the future. I mean, I'm still walking and still going. Strong men stoop. You watched me come up here, didn't you? Grabbing on things, back and forth. Strong men stoop. And the grinders cease because they are few. I'm losing a few. I've got to see the dentist. I'm trying to get a dental appointment because otherwise we're going to have to start pureeing my steaks, you know. It's get bad up there, yeah. The grinders, because they are few, and those looking through the glass windows grows dim. So far I hadn't had a new prescription, but they're getting there, you know. I'll need one. This one's a few years old. When the doors to the street are closed and the sound of grinding fades, then people rise up to the sound of birds, but all their songs grow faint. I get up real early in the morning. And what he's saying is you don't sleep well anymore, and even when you do get up, the birds, you can't hear them. You can't hear them, but their songs are faint. When people are afraid of heights and dangers in the streets. There was one time that you would get up there and just change that light bulb, and now you make your wife hold the ladder. And she watches you and says, don't do that, don't do that, don't you fall. Dangers in the streets. You get the idea of that. You know, no one goes to downtown Portland anymore. Or Seattle zone. When the almond tree blossoms, white, all over the top. Almond tree blossoms, white. And the grasshopper drags itself along. That's one of my favorites. Yeah, you seen me with my cane? You know, you look like a grasshopper. If you had two canes, you'd really look like a grasshopper. They said, the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire is no longer steered. There's a nice Hebrew idiom there, and Diana says, don't go there, so I won't. plus a cultural thing that's really funny, but hey. Oh, he's already done it. Then people go to their eternal home. This is before death. Is there life before death? We wonder. People go to their eternal home, and the mourners go about the streets. Remember him before. Now, these are the metaphors again. Before that silver cord is broken. What's he talking about? Severed. The golden bowl is broken. We have that expiration date. Stable out there. I mean, the sell-by date is coming for some of us. Before the pitcher is shattered at the spring and the wheel broken at the well. And dust returns to the ground where it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Meaningless, meaningless. Vanity, vanity, says the teacher. Everything is meaningless. Dust returns to the earth. That was God's verdict on Eve in the garden. And that's where we're going to go. Why? Death. Death entered the world. Did you know when they do surveys among humans, death is the number 2 fear? Number 1 is public speaking. If you're female, it's probably wearing a thong bikini. Oh, I wasn't supposed to go there either, was I? All right. Sorry. So, we're getting to the punchline. Ecclesiastes 12, 9 through 14. Not only was the teacher wise, but he also imparted knowledge to the people. He pondered and searched out and set in order many proverbs. The teacher searched to find just the right words. And what he wrote was upright and true. The words of the wise are like goads. Their collected sayings are firmly embedded nails given to one shepherd. A goad is a pointed stick for a beast of burden has to be poked at to get it going the right way. He's saying his proverbs are like these goads to make you think. Go the right way. Look towards the shepherd, the creator. Nails in the wall is also to get you to go the straight way. I mean, if you're a sheep or a goat and you wander against a nail, you say, "Oh, I don't want to go that way. I'll go this way." That's the whole idea. But they're embedded, and these words are like goads. They're collected sayings. He says are given to one shepherd. One shepherd, not many shepherds. One shepherd. Who's the shepherd? I have come that they may have life, have it to its fullness. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives life for his sheep. A psychiatrist can help us deal with guilt feelings. But only Jesus, our shepherd, can deal with real guilt. And there's a big difference. Because the shepherd of the sheep is the Lamb of God. And death entered the world because of sin. When we sin, we die. I could have started this sermon saying, everyone that listens to me now is going to die. I would have scared all the little kids, but you got a 1 out of 1 chance of dying. Unless Jesus returns soon. And that would be something else. But generally the statistics show it's a 1 out of 1 chance. There's a couple of exceptions in history, but you're going to die. And when you do, you're going to face judgment. Be warned, my son, of anything in addition to them, anything in addition to the books, anything that the shepherd wrote. We got the truth in. The making of books, there's no end. You can read a lot of stuff. You can read Richard Dawkins. The atheist. It's silly. I mean, he's got holes in his theorems about atheism that you could ride a dinosaur through. You can read Nietzsche. He killed God. Then he killed himself. All he saw was vanity. So here comes our punchline. I didn't have to do that. Now don't do another one. I'm just waiting. The punchline, the certainty of judgment. Now all has been heard. There's a conclusion matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether good or evil. You hear the tolling of the bell, Macbeth? For it's the knell that summons heaven or to hell. Shakespeare read his Bible. There's no end to the matter. All has been heard, he says. Whole duty of man. This is the whole shooting match. Get it. Learn it. It's vitally important. So now you see that the Bible does address these things. Not to be morbid, but in order to be honest about living and death. Is there life before death? That's what Ecclesiastes is about. Is there life before death? Yes. There is. How do you address the fact for people like Ernest Hemingway who say life is a dirty trick from nothingness to nothingness? You can tell them the Bible has a whole lot to say about that. I'm going to show you Ecclesiastes. Now, there's no shortage of experts with answers. They got medical answers, social answers, mathematical answers. My first years in the pulpit, I was answering questions from my congregation that nobody was even asking. I knew all the theology. We always got answers, but are they adequate? Here's the point he's making. It's my final point. He's making a point that we need to seize the opportunities which are there in our fledgling life of days. If you take Jesus Christ, young gentlemen, if you know Jesus Christ, then whatever this world throws at you, your attitude's a lot better at it. Look at these old folks. We still come to church. Look at more gray hair here. I mean, we have suffered. Wait till you get old. You'll know how much suffering we do sometimes. Everything creaks, aches, or leaks. That's all there is to it. But we're here and we love Jesus. And there's a reason for it. Our sins are forgiven. He opened the door for us. Every deed, whether it's good or evil, he knows. And without him, you die and go to judgment. We die and see our Savior.
Amen.
And that makes all the difference in the world in how you live and how you love life. Final message of Solomon's Ecclesiastes is not that nothing matters, it's that everything matters. C.S. Lewis said, aim at heaven and you get earth thrown in. Aim at earth and you get neither. So you think, oh, we come back to the beginning. You know, the end of this is like verse 8 at the beginning, the first thing I read. No, it's not. Verse 8 is under the sun. The end of this is beyond the sun to eternity. We're not under the sun anymore. We've gone beyond it to know that our life was not made to be simply here on earth, and that's the end of it. There's something better for us beyond. My scroll. I got a message down here. See, it's my last thing. I got a little note here. Scroll. Scroll. I was thinking of it. This is written in Tibetan. Language of Tibetan. Now, it's very unique because the Tibetans, they have a written language, but only the priests are allowed to know it. The general Tibetans are not allowed to know the language because it is sacred. So the priest, now the one that wrote this was a friend of mine. He calls himself John. If you're over in China like we were, all the Chinese decided to take an England name. It's not, but he liked the name of John for John in the Bible. And he was a Buddhist monk who found Jesus Christ through another Buddhist monk who found Jesus Christ. Someday I'll show you a picture of the entire Tibetan Christian church leadership. I got to teach them a little bit of Bible there while I was there, and I got in trouble. The Chinese government said, don't ever do that again. I was pulled in by their FBI, their state security. Anyway, from teaching them the Old Testament things. Anyway, this is from second. He's got it down here, 2 Timothy 5:17. Now, John had problems. The reason I picked this one out is really 2 Corinthians 5:17. And 2 Corinthians 5:17 has more to do with a Tibetan frame of mind. You see, if you're a Buddhist at that time, you don't believe in a real life after death. You don't believe in reincarnation. You believe in an eternal wheel of birth and rebirth and birth and rebirth. And you're going on and on and on and on. And the perfect thing is to get to nirvana, which is get out of the cycle and go to perfect nothingness, I guess like North Dakota or something. State of perfect nothingness. But that's what John, and when he read 1 Corinthians 5:17, he has a rough time with English. He does better in Tibetan. When I met him, he was working with the Microsoft Word to make a Tibetan font, and also with Wycliffe. So he was working with some of our people with Wycliffe there in Shini to try to get the Bible in the Tibetan language. But they have a rough time because the people don't know how to read that, but they can get it to the monks. The monks know how to read. But this is his work. And I guess I got this one because he misquoted the scripture at the bottom and gave it to me instead of selling it. This is the way he makes his money. Would you like to read what it says for them in 2 Corinthians 5:17? Yeah, right here.
Yes, 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old is gone, and the new is here.
That gets them. They feel they're out of that cycle of life. That cycle of over and over again. You never tell a Tibetan. I mean, when we were there, everyone worked with the Chinese. But groups of us worked with Tibetans and groups of us worked with Muslims. But you never tell a Tibetan that you can have eternal life. That scares them to death. To them, life is awful. It stinks. And it gets worse. Worse. And you try to get out of it. And if you do, you tell them you're going to go eternally through this cycle, they are scared to death. They do not want that. We've watched groups of Tibetans get on their hands and knees and go around Qinghai Lake, which is 60 miles in circumference, trying to earn merit. You go to the temples, and like John here was a yellow hat Buddhist, which is the guys that have the lamas and stuff, the Dalai Lama stuff. And they would just totally destroy themselves trying to get favor with God. Ecclesiastes saves that man. He saw what Solomon wrote about under heaven and under the sun, and being, I guess, I shouldn't say Oriental, the Asian mindset, where you see a lot of things that way. Ecclesiastes pulled him in. The gospel is there. And more of our worldly view out there, outside the church, that they're teaching these kids that they go out to school, has this Buddhist, Hindu mentality in it. And people, they won't believe about the Bible, but they'll sure want to talk about death. And Ecclesiastes is a book for today. Let's pray. Father, as we open your book, your words, we ask your wisdom and your spirit to guide us in using them, to give us the strength to speak out, the wisdom of knowing what to say when your spirit guides. And Lord, make us students of the whole book, so we can speak to those who need to hear certain passages that aren't necessarily those that come out of the four spiritual laws. Under your blood and in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I'll leave it all to you.
Give him his cane.
Yeah, okay.